Hope you guys doing well, and today we will learn about the variables and the nesting, which how many times when writing CSS have you had to make respective changes across your files. For example, when a front end of font size change, or a client want to modify a brand color. In this post we will have to do the find and replace to change all these things within our style sheet. Variables means we can make the information available globally by defining it once, and then referring to the original definition elsewhere in our Sass files. So for example, if we know we are going to be using red cross our side, and we might want to define as a simple dollar sign, then red, and then the color here, which is TD and 000. So here we are defining a variable red using the dollar symbols. Like here we have added his dollar sign and then red and then color, and as a prefix to say we want to treat this a variable. We then use a semicolon, which is here, and we would with the Sass to define the value for our variable. Finally, we terminate our rule with the semicolon to reference that variable. Taking our example from the previous chapter, we would use like alert box, and then color should be red, and the border should be 1 pixel solid, and then red, actually only red with the dollar sign, because we need to add a variable here. So once you save this, it will automatically generate our code with the same color that we have defined in this variable, and we use this variable here and for here. So this means that if at some later stages we want to update the tone of red, we can just update the variable value, and this change will be reflected in every instance that red is used for Sass. For example, we need to add here some black color, and we will save this, and it will automatically regenerate our color with the black. So we need to define our brand color within a variable, and once while coding our CSS or Sass, we need to use this variable as a brand color. So you don't need to again and again just go to the Adobe Photoshop or maybe your browser color picker. You don't need to just pick the color again and again and come to this and then write a code. You need to define your brand color here with the multiple variables like this. So you can define the color here, so your brand is automatically set to the variable, and you just need to remember your variable names, which you can use in a color, in a background, in a borders, in a tables, in a much more. You can easily use a variable as a value in of your selector. So This means that if at some later stages we need to simply, you can immediately see the value. Here we got the results here of variable. Any information that is repeated across your CSS file is best served by variables. So the important thing to remember is that, like CSS, Sass is read in sequence. So you will need to define your variable before you start using them. So colors, fonts, use the breakpoints, define in a media queries, all serve as a great example of when you might use a variable. So that is how you can work with the variable, and it's very important to define a variable in a Sass. If you just set up a SCSS extension, and you don't need to write here a variable, or maybe mixins, or maybe functions. So why we use this Sass? We just only write a simple style.css, but in this case we need to just reduce our development time and save our finding some colors or font families, or maybe cards, or maybe margins and paddings. We just only define in a variable, and we need to call this variable in every class. We will also work with the just classes. We can expand the classes to call class in within a class. So now I'm gonna tell you something about the nesting. The next important thing to know about Sass is that when we define our Sass, so we can nest our arguments in normally CSS when we want to define the CSS of a child element. We would do the following thing, like ul.nav and then list style, and then we need to add some li here, and then padding should be 0. Once we save this, it will automatically regenerate our code like this. So if you have the proper understanding of the CSS, so you may also try this one. So it will very easy and time saving thing for you. So in this Sass we can simply this by nesting our queries and demonstrate their context by nesting. We use crawl brackets to wrap around selector rules. To define a rule for the child element, we just place these rule within the parent braces. So if we want to add some hyperlink here, we need to just add some text decoration here, none, and then it will automatically regenerate another class with the ul.nav.li. And the anchor hyperlink. So that is how the nesting works in our Sass. So in our next video we will learn about the nesting CSS properties. So you may also need to add some other things in this. If I need to add some li and then and sign here with the class, for example this is a class, and then I'm gonna add this class. We need to remove this space, because if we are using li element and within the specific class we need to add here and sign, and just save this, and it will automatically target the li which have this class, and reflect your css into the specific li element. So that's how the simple li works. For example, I'm gonna add one more class with the class and child. Actually, client is not my client, and then just I'm going to add a color here, add, and then save this. If you have multiple classes, you want to target the multiple classes like class and child class within a same li element. So you can also target this with the class and child class. So that is how the things work. For example, if you have some hyperlinks here, let me show you the HTML example which we have the hyperlink. Oh, sorry, hyperlink here, and then readme, and we will delete all of our code here. We just need to add a hyperlink, and then text decoration none. Let me show you the results. The by default we are getting this. So if we need to add a hover effect or focus effect in a hyperlink using our CSS, it's very easy method to do this. So I'm gonna add here and sign and the semicolon and then hover effect should be comes with the color which is black. I'm gonna save this and show you the results that how it works. That's the by default color we have the blue, and once I will hover over this it will automatically change the color. So that's very easy to add hover effects. You can also add the focus effect, and focus here, and then color should be red. Maybe you can add the multiple like this. So here we got our color, and once I hover it, it will make it black, and once I focus this, like I will click on that, this state called the focus actually, so it will turn into red. So that is how it will definitely very easy to use. So I'm gonna add some multiple childs here. We can also add this hover and focus if we have a single state of our hover and focus effect. We need to just hover it and click it. So that is how we can implement this code. So now I'm gonna show you some we will also expand our class which we have used. For example, if we are working with the header, for example, once if we are working with the one page website, we need to have two headers with the one for the sticky and second for the normal behavior of the header. So if I am using this class here which is header, and then I'm gonna add some wrapper here, maybe div tag which is have the sticky. So I'm gonna writing the actually we need to add two headers, one for the normal behavior and for second for the sticky. So I'm gonna define header here and then sticky header, actually header which have the background black, and I want to add the sticky header which have the font size should be 12 pixels. So that is how we can generate two classes with the same class name. This header, and then header will considered as a sticky header. So if you want to code the simple header here, and then you can also define the sticky header here. So that is how the nesting will work. Hope you guys enjoy my tutorial, and don't forget to subscribe my channel. Click the bell icon for the latest updates from my um, courses. So see you guys in my next video.